Hey everybody, I just wanted to do a little video update. The last time that I've updated you, I was sitting in the nursing home with my dad as he passed away, and then I kind of went missing in action for a while, and I've gotten some very kind emails and Facebook messages just checking in on how I'm doing and text messages and just kind of wanted to update you. I am alive and well. I am kind of isolating myself, I think in a somewhat healthy way, and I'll share more about that. It is a hard season, a hard season for lots of reasons, but the most obvious being that I'm just grieving my dad, and there's a lot to grieve, and it's very complicated. It's not black and white. Our relationship was complicated, and there was a lot of baggage there, and um, God in His faithfulness restored some of that before He passed away, but also is restoring now our relationship and giving me understanding for Him and grace and helping me to get to know Him a little bit. And it's a hard process to face some of that head on and to experience the emotions that come with that. And um, I am comforted and encouraged by the Lord's faithfulness. He's been very present and very active in my life and has been speaking very clearly to me and just is close. He's close to me. I'm thankful for that. And so, to all of you wondering if I'm okay, I am. And I'm sorry if my kind of disappearance from the social world has hurt you personally. That is not my heart at all. I'm just trying to figure out how to process and deal in something that feels very sacred and intimate to me with the Lord. And so I want to protect that place with the Lord. And so I pray that it's not taken personal to you. And I just ask for tons of grace in that. And just know that I love you and that I care for you. And so the other thing that I wanted to do is just share with you what I feel like the Lord's been teaching me in this season of grief and hurt and heartache. The biggest thing is that He's faithful and He's been good. And as I entered into the knowledge that this would be the season where my dad would pass away, I prayed and I asked the Lord to be close. And I knew that He would be. And so I'm not surprised by His faithfulness at all. He's been really good. And He promised to be. And that's the thing that I feel like He's calling me to share. Because if I'm being honest, in the middle of this difficult season, I don't want to minister to anyone. I don't want to take care of anyone. I actually just want to be left alone to read my book and listen to music. That is not the Lord. That is just me and my selfishness. And me being a little maybe lazy or just self-absorbed maybe. And I want to acknowledge there is a place for self-care, that I should be taking care of myself and spending extra time with the Lord and spending some extra time alone. There's nothing wrong with that. But I've kind of used it as an excuse to not minister. And in normal situations and normal seasons, that's the overflow of my heart, is to minister to people, to encourage them or speak a word over them or to bless them. And I don't mean to minister to them like, oh, you need to be fixed, but just everyone needs to be ministered to and cared for and served. And I think that's my heart in a normal season. But in this season, it has not been. And so I'm just trying to find this balance of taking care of myself and sitting with the Lord and sitting in those sacred places while also caring for others. Because what I've been reminded of is there's so much heartache in the world, and there's so much brokenness, and there's so much darkness. There are people walking through divorces, and there are people walking through miscarriage after miscarriage after miscarriage, and I have friends who are fostering children, and it's impacting their lives in a lot of ways, but a lot of grief comes with that for many different reasons, and people struggling with their health and things like cancer and just brokenness. And there's one girl I know who used to work as a prostitute and has been a drug addict, and her biggest struggle right now is figuring out how to get out to where she wants to be and who she wants to be. For instance, she wants to go to Teen Challenge and she wants to start over. She wants a new life and she wants to walk in the things that the Lord has for her. And money comes into play with that. And she instantly goes to this place where I don't want to have to sell my body to get to where I want to be. Her heart is not to be who she used to be to get to where she needs to be or wants to be. And that's a serious struggle. Like, I can't imagine feeling that way or living my life that way, and just battling with your flesh in that, and battling with the Lord in that, and figuring out how to meet those needs, and how trusting God that He's going to meet those needs, especially when you're a new believer. And so it's just been interesting to see all the brokenness, and with the Syrian refugee crisis and everything that's going on in the world, like, it's so easy to find that brokenness in the world and the darkness and to see it. And I just felt like the Lord has said, Mindy, there's always going to be brokenness. There's always going to be hurt. There's always going to be someone walking in grief. And your circumstances cannot be an excuse to not minister to them. And that has been so convicting to me, because what's true in this season is God's been faithful. And He's been close to me, and I have hope, and I have joy that coexists with the grief. And it's so much better than what it was like before I became a believer, because I used to be hopeless, and the grief felt like it would destroy me, and that I wasn't going to survive it. And I don't feel that way anymore. And there's a verse in Hebrews that I want to read that kind of speaks to that. It's in Hebrews 6, and you've probably heard it if you've been in the church very long, because it's kind of cliche, but I love it. It starts in verse 13, it'll go through verse 20-ish. When God made His promise to Abraham, since there was no greater for him to swear by, He swore by Himself, saying, I will surely bless you and give you many descendants. And so after waiting patiently, Abraham received what was promised. So God made a promise to Abraham. He made an oath on Himself, because there was no one greater than Him. And because Abraham was patient and he clung to that promise, God was faithful to answer that. It goes on to say, men swear by someone greater than themselves, and the oath confirms what is said and puts an end to all argument. Because God wanted to make the unchanging nature of His promise very clear to the heirs of what was promised, that's us, we are the heirs of what He promised, He confirmed it with an oath. God did this so that by two unchangeable things, in which it is impossible for God to lie, we who have fled to take hold of the hope offered to us may be greatly encouraged. We have this hope as an anchor for the soul, firm and secure. It enters in the inner sanctuary behind the curtain, where Jesus, who went before us, has entered on our behalf. So what this is saying is God has to do what He promised. And just as Jesus was born as an answer to those promises, the Messiah, the one who would be with us, who comforts us, who cares for us, who bore our burdens that we could find freedom, in the same way He's coming back again. And I think that's the promise we can cling to as we are in the middle of this Christmas season, that He was born, but He's coming again. And that's great news as we sit in the middle of a broken world, and our hurt and our brokenness and the things that have been stolen from us by the enemy, that God has to redeem those things. It's a promise, and He will, whether it's today or when Jesus comes back. But because He's a God of justice and a God who restores and a God who brings wholeness and provision to our lives, He has to come through on those things. And that's the hope that is an anchor for our soul, that He has to be faithful. He cannot lie, and He promised to come back, and He promised to make all things new, and to be gracious to us and patient with us and loving towards us. And so I have been blessed to sit in the middle of that truth and that knowledge, especially in this season. God has taken care of me and He's been faithful to me. So how selfish is it of me to sit with this hope, this answer that brings peace to my soul and wholeness to me and restores me, and not share it with those around me who are in the middle of grief and hurt and brokenness, and not just believers, but also non-believers who have no hope. And I have this answer, and because I'm in the middle of a difficult season that makes me tired, I don't want to minister to those around me. And so that's where I'm sitting right now in the season, just in the middle of the conviction of blessing others and caring for others and ministering to others in the middle of a difficult season. And so I just pray that as you watch this, that you're encouraged by who God is and his faithfulness, and that he has to come through for you. He has to find a way to restore what the enemy has stolen. And he's done that through Jesus. And whether it's today or tomorrow or in heaven, everything will be made new. Everything will be made right. And we will be cared for and made whole. And my challenge is to myself and also to you is that as you sit with this hope and the knowledge of who God is and his faithfulness, that you will share it with those around you and that you will bless those around you. I think I sit in this fear that if I bless someone with something, then it means I'm losing it. And I think I sit in that fear a little bit in this season. Like if I give too much in this season, if I minister too much, that I'm going to lose this peace or this hope that I have, that I won't thrive in the middle of this season, but I will somehow just be skimming by. And I don't want to lose the joy or the peace that I have. And I won't. I heard someone say once that they felt like God had blessed them with certain things, and they listed those things, and it was their job to protect the blessing. And I agree that we are supposed to be good stewards of what God's given us, and we're supposed to care for everything that he's given us. But it's his job to protect what he's given us, and the enemy cannot steal what God has given to us. He might temporarily get a hold of something, or we might hand something over to him, but God is faithful to restore and redeem all the things that the enemy has stolen from us. And so I just pray for us as a church that we won't hold tightly to what the Lord has given us, that we will give it away freely in the knowledge and expectation that he's faithful. He has to come through. He cannot lie, and he always provides what we need and always restores and always redeems. And so just pray as we're entering or almost through the Christmas season, I guess, that we will be people in the church who love out of sacrifice, and we love laying ourselves down so that others might find hope and peace and comfort in the knowledge of who God is as well. So yeah, that's where I'm kind of at in this season, what the Lord's teaching me. And again, I'm sorry if I've been MIA in your life. That has not been my heart or my intention. And I pray that in the new year, those things will come back into alignment, and those relationships will come back into whatever it is that the Lord has intended them to be. And I ask just for tons of grace in this season. So I hope that you have a great Christmas and that you just find tons of hope and joy in the Lord. Have a great night.